Boker Tov. Gemara Chatima Tova. I want to dedicate this year for the Atzlacha of Ben Zion Ben Tosa, him and his family. Should be successful in everything they do. We're going to talk a little about Parashat Ha'azinu and then in Yala Yoima, Yom Kippur with some great chidushim. The Gemara says in Chagiga Daf Tet Amud Bet that is a Segulah for memory. If you learn and review, learn and review, learn and review 101 times, you won't forget your learning. The Gemara says the big difference between a person who learned 100 times and one who learns 101. The one who learned 100 times is considered asher lo avado, as if he didn't serve his Creator. The Gemara brings a pasuk for that. One who learns 101 times, he is considered one who served Hashem, and he will have memory. We have a rule. There's nothing that's not hinted to in the Torah. Where does it say in the Torah that you have to learn and review 101 times? 100 is just not enough. Is there any hint to that in the Torah itself? Parashat Ha'azinu. Perek Lamed Beis, Pasuk Mem Zayin. Ki lo davar rek hu mikem. Ki lo davar rek hu mikem, because this is not something vain. So some explain. Ki lo davar rek, because this is not vain, and if it is, and if you feel, but I learned, and I just can't retain what I learned. You know why that is? Who? It's because mikem. It's because of you. Gimatria mikem, mem, kaf, mem. Mem is 40, kaf is 20, mem is another 40. That's 100. Because you only learned 100 times. So then you feel that you don't have it. It's empty. It's not in your hands. If you want to learn and you want to retain what you learn, again and again and again, 101. However, there are shortcuts. The Gemara says in many places that certain Amoraim would hear a Dvar Halacha and they were so excited they wanted to remember it, so they reviewed it again and again 40 times, and then as if it's in their pocket. So what is it, 40 times or 101? The Maharitz Chiyus says that if you learn by yourself, you have to learn 101 times. But if you learn with a partner, you learn by Chavrusa, only 40 times. Only 40 times. And the Stipler says that if you teach two others, that's counted as 20 times Chazara. The Mekubalim say that when you write what you learn, writing equals 4 times Chazara. So, not so hard to get to 40 or even 101. In Hashem, we should learn and remember everything that we learn. The Rambam in Hilchos Tshuva, Perek Gimel Halacha Daled, writes that during these days, Seres Yemei Tshuva, between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the minhag of Klal Yisrael is to pursue Ma'asim Tovim, to give tzedakah. Everybody does this. That's the right thing to do. We always do it throughout the year, but more so during these days. Again, we have a rule. Everything is in the Torah. Where does it say in the Torah that between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur you should pursue tzedakah and chesed? What does it say that? Rabbeinu Ephraim, one of the Rishonim, he brings a pasuk from Parashat Re'eh. The pasuk said, Tzedek, Tzedek, Tirdof, Leman Tichye, Veyarashta. Tzedek, Tzedek, Tirdof, that means pursue tzedakah. Why? Leman Tichye, because now it's going to be decided whether you're going to live or not. But when? Veyarashta. Veyarashta is the letters Vav, Yarashta is the letters Tishrei. In the 6 days of Tishrei, that between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we have 10 days, but 4 out of them you can't give tzedakah. 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, Shabbos Shuvah, and Yom Kippur itself. So you have 6 days that you have to pursue tzedakah and chesed. Why? Leman tichye, because that's going to make sure that you tilt the scales in your favor, and you will live when? V'yarashta. Vav, Tishrei, a remez from the Rishonim. The pasuk in Parashat Re'eh, Tet Zayin Chaf, alludes to this.
We can add Torah Chesed Yudefun Yud.
Yudefuni.
Saying so Yudefun Yud Yud Tshuva.
Huh? Good. But what are you going to do with Rosh Hashanah, Shabbos Shuvah, and Yom Kippur?
Chesed, other Chesed.
So exactly when that comes the other pasuk, V'yarash. A tremendous chiddush in the Pri Megadim, Rabbi Kiva Eger brings him in his Haggaos on Shulchan Aruch and Orach Chaim Taf Reish Yud. The minhag is that you don't wear golden jewelry on Yom Kippur. Why? Because we don't want the prosecuting agent to remember to remind the Kodesh Baruch Hu of the sin of the golden calf, to as if become now the defense attorney on our behalf. It doesn't work like that. Says the Rabbi Pessin, again, he brings this from the Pri Megadim, that if that's the case, this doesn't apply to Levim, it doesn't apply to women. Because the Levim and the women did not sin in Chet HaEgel. They can wear golden jewelry on Yom Kippur. It's a pele because the Rabbi Pessin quotes the Pri Megadim. The Pri Megadim didn't end there. The Pri Megadim brings this, but Lemaise, he holds that one, the Levim and the women are also included, and they should not. The Rabbi Pessin, for some reason, decided just to bring the first part, and he leaves it with a question mark. Lichoira, Levim and women are exempt, and they can wear golden jewelry. I think it's a tremendous chiddush.
Is it held in watch and shooting jewelry?
Sure.
So it's a bit of a-
That depends on Machlokes Rachonim if you can carry a watch on Shabbos. If it's jewelry, so then you can. If it's a masa, a load that you're carrying, then you can. There are many Achronim who are strict regarding watches, carrying watches on Shabbos, because of an Eruv issue. It depends on them at that Machlokes. But Lichoira, we do view a watch as a jewelry.
Can you wear a watch at all?
What's that?
Can you wear a watch at all?
If you ask the Chaim Kanievsky, who comes in the name of the Chazon Ish, he will tell you it's Begadisha. 99% of the Poiskim do not hold like that, but according to the Chaim.
Well, I would wear pocket watch.
What's that?
Pocket watch.
That's exactly what the Chaim used to say to people who came to him. Take it off, put it in your pocket, and when people would come to him, he would always say, "Are you a man or a woman?" People said, "Why are you asking? You have a watch, like a woman. Take it off." And he said, "Put it in your pocket. Oh, now you're a man."
I inherited my grandfather's pocket watch.
Good.
Did you understand that there was obviously men's watches and women's watches and that such thing?
He was choishesh to the Chazon Ish, who held it's a beged isha. In fact, tell you a ma'aser. I once came to him with a fellow from Australia. We go inside, and Reb Chaim had this radar for people wearing watches. I used to usually warn the people coming with me, Reb Chaim doesn't like watches because if he tells you to take it off, you have a problem. But this time, either I forgot, I didn't see, the guy had a long sleeve. We come in, and Reb Chaim picks up immediately. He says to him, "Ata gever o isha?" You're a man or woman. He looks at me, "What did I do wrong?" I said, "Do you have a watch?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Take it off." So he starts taking it off. Reb Chaim says, "Put it in your pocket." He puts it in his pocket. Reb Chaim says, "Oh, achshav ata gever." Now you're a man. Good. 6 months later, we come back. So I say to him, "Do you want to ask Reb Chaim a question or it's a bracha?" He said, "No, just a bracha." I said, "Just a bracha? It's bal tashnis." To go into Reb Chaim and not to ask halacha, that's the question. It's bal tashnis. He says, "I don't have any questions." I said, "Yes, you do. Come, I'll show you what question you have." So we go inside. I said, "Rebbe, I was here 6 months ago with this fellow, and you told him to take off his watch, and he was mekabel. But now he has a shayla. Since you hold it's a beged isha, he wants to know, it's a manly watch produced by men for men. Can he give it to his wife? Can he give it to his daughter? And if you say yes, you're not worried now that the woman is now holding a man's garment." Reb Chaim says to me, "Yes." Ad kidei kach he held that it's a beged isha. But then he pauses, he looks at me, he says, "Gam ata yachol lilbosh et zeh." You can also wear it. I was like, "Uh-oh, what did I do wrong?" He looks at me, he says to me, "Ala regel." And he cracks up laughing. Back to Yom Kippur. Simen Taf Reish Yutes, a tremendous chiddush in the levush. He says our minhag is to extend slichos and tachanunim and other songs and praises on Yom Kippur. Why? Tremendous chiddush. Because they are instead of eating and drinking of other Yamim Tovim. Today you can't eat, you can't drink, so what can you do? Praise the Kodesh Baruch Hu, and that comes instead of the mitzvah that normally you would be chayav in a Yom Tiv, to eat and drink. Today you're chayav to sing and to praise the Kodesh Baruch Hu. The Chidah, Nachal Kedumim, he says, what is the main part of tshuva? Main part of tshuva. Go sit and learn Torah. Where does he get it from? He says, look at the bracha we say. Hashiveinu avinu where? Toratecha. And only then, v'karveinu malkenu lavodatecha. And then, v'azirenu b'tshuva shlema. It starts with Torah. Without Torah, it doesn't work. And he explains why.
Because Torah has 3 milos. First of all, it's an etz chaim to those who cling to it, and those who holds on to it is holding on to life. The second thing is because it cancels Yetzer Hara. So if you really want to do tshuva, you have to do something to fight your Yetzer Hara. What's the best advice? Torah. And for a third reason, because an Aveira that one does not put out the fire of Torah. Aveira and mitzvah as if cancel each other, but not Torah. Torah is always there. It's like more in Soita Chaf Aleph. Mimera Torah is the biggest thing. If one really wants to do tshuva, he should concentrate on learning Torah. Erev Rosh Hashanah, we did a Taras Nedarim, and we turned to each other and we said, Shimunara Boisai Dayani Mumchim, and therefore, esteemed judges, I turn to you with the following question. People do kaparos during these days, right? So listen what happened. A guy did kaparos. You know, the guy's outside with a ton of chickens there. So the guy took a chicken, tarnagol, and he took it, and he did what he needs to do above his head 3 times, and he said the right things. But then the shoichet there was so busy. So he figured, I'll wait a few minutes, be less of a line, and then I'll go over. He sat down and started learning some Mishnayos. For some reason, the chicken wasn't into his Mishnayos. So the chicken ran back to hang out with all his friends, all the other chickens. He says, uh-oh, now we have a problem. If you hear that among these chickens is one that already had a kapara, would you take a chicken from this guy? You wouldn't. So this guy wants to know, does he have to pay for all the chickens that are there? Because this guy is not going to be able to sell even one now. Does he have to do this or not? It's his responsibility. He was learning Mishnah, it's a tzaddik, but he didn't watch over or the bird. That were still not sold, were still not given over to people for kapawas. So now nobody's going to want to take one. Does he have to pay for everything? Oh, Batel Barov, tell me. Davar chashuv like this, Davar chashuv, which is something which is important, is not cancelled in the majority. Shulchan Aruch, Yoredei, Siman Kuf Yud, Seif Aleph, we learn, not everything is cancelled, nullified in the majority. Something which is chashuv, Davar shebeminyan, is not nullified in the majority.
There isn't any way to know that, to realize which one was the chicken.
For some reason, that chicken is not willing to cooperate and say, it's me, it's me, it's me. Don't know why.
This one was one you.
If there was a siman, we don't have a question. But I came to you with this question because the question is here, because there is no siman. He has to pay for everything. Shh, it will cost him a lot of money. That's a real kapara.
Once you kapara the same chicken again.
You don't know which one it is. He ran and mixed with all the other chickens now. What are you going to do?
Even if the chicken that he picks up is the chicken that somebody did kapara before. So 2 people did kapara.
Would you want to buy a chicken that somebody else did with who knows how many averos he casted on that chicken? You would? I think you're unique. You're a tzaddik. You know why you're saying he would? Because he has no averos to do. It's just a technical thing. But most people are worried.
Chicken can contain many people's averos.
Shh, who told you?
We've seen what some people do with
They have one chicken for a whole.
The halacha proves differently. A person who has a lady who's pregnant, how many chickens does she take? Why? A family has 10. How many chickens do they take? For each person.
You know, with the coin, a person can be paid many.
With a coin.
If someone else can be paid.
But what about with a chicken? The minhag is to take 1 per person.
Only for half.
What's that?
Only for half.
Half. Shh.
Each person, you take 2. Then one of them will be fine.
Chiddush. So there's 5,000 chickens, and he only has to pay for 2,500.
Wait, he has to pay because the owner is saying.
Because he wrecked it for the owner. Nobody's going to want to buy from him. And he was a poshea. He didn't tie up the chicken.
He was the shachar.
He was...
He was the shachar?
No. He did kaparos for himself, and then he wanted to go to the shoichet, but there was a big line. He said, no, wait a few minutes. He sat down and he said to Moshe Mishnayos.
Doesn't the Kehillah sometimes use one chicken? They don't have like
No.
chickens for everybody.
Not that I'm familiar with.
They use that poor
Sometimes the
chicken
family
over
uses
and
one
over.
chicken.
Not that I'm familiar with.
Sometimes the family uses one chicken.
No. The Shulchan Aruch says, It's brought down. Shulchan Aruch himself doesn't like it, but the Rama brings that is our minhag, and even Sfardim do it per person.
I mean, so the chicken coop was left open? Whose responsibility was that?
This chicken is an athletic one. And it hopped over the fence. But it's because this guy didn't tie him up. He wasn't watching over him. He was sitting and learning Mishnahs.
What we do with money? I thought we take 200 shekels and we don't kids.
Good.
You don't have to take.
But the minhag is with chickens to do it per person.
The chicken is per person, but the money is to be for everyone.
That's what's brought down to halacha.
Why the money is everywhere? Money is each person put them out.
So you can put more money aside and use the same coin. But you're putting more money per person. It's not the same money that goes for everybody. So basically it's the same idea.
There's a set amount of how much it should be.
No.
So
Now
if
the
you
chicken
take
money you use it, and some smart than you. The value of the chicken is expensive.
You can, but values of chickens also are different. If you go here, if you go to Yerushalayim, if you go to New York, if you go to South Africa, Mistama is a different value. There's no set amount.
Would not the answer to this question depend on the point about made previously? For example, what would Rabbi Yosef Kawar asking about this? Because he holds that it's forbidden to do such
But the
things.
minhag is that we do it.
If someone's doing something that he holds is forbidden according to law, and he causes someone else a loss while he's doing it, then perhaps it's
We view this as a kosher minhag. It's an old minhag. Everybody does it. True that the Shulchan Aruch says, "Okay, Amori, stay away," but lemaisa we do it. The guy who did it definitely holds it's the right thing to do. Everybody outside in the street who wants to buy it also hold that it's true. We're not talking about people who hold that it's not.
I mean, the buyer he's only going to be ending up, he's only going to buy a suffix Kapara chicken. It's only a suffix.
But the problem is nobody's going to want to do this. So you cause the person who sells a tremendous loss. When people know this, nobody's going to come close, except the person who has no virus. He's just doing a technical thing.
What happens
The one sitting on your right side.
What happens if no one doesn't realize that the chicken went? What happens if no one didn't realize that the chicken goes back in?
So there's no problem, but everybody saw there was a big commotion. What happened? What happened? Why are you jumping? What happened? And now everybody knows. And once everybody knows, nobody's going to buy. And again, you're trying to diffuse the question, and I want to answer the question. So lichoira, what the Shulchan Aruch brings, it's really the Rema in Shulchan Aruch Yoredea Simin Kuf Yud Seif Aleph. The davar chashuv does not nullify in the majority. Is only midirabonon. The Rema clearly says midirabonon. Mideoraisa, it does nullify in the majority. So lichoira, that should be enough. But that's also not going to help us because people lemaise are still going to be worried. Even if you tell them, it nullifies in the majority. You can take that, take any chicken here. People are not going to like it. So it's not going to help us. But the kapara that one does when he does kaparos only takes place the time of shchita. You can do this not 3 times, 300 times. You still don't have the kapara until the actual shchita. The language of the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Taf Reish Hei suggests that because the language is Mashenoihagim la'asot kaparos lishchot hatarnegol. So the shchita is the kaparos, and in fact that's the Ben Ish Chai says. Shoot. Shalos Teshuvos Torah Lishma Ben Ish Chai Siman Kuf Nun Hei says, if you shechted and then you find a treifa in the chicken, don't worry. The tikkun that was needed was already done. If you didn't shecht properly, you only shechted 1 siman instead of 2, then you have a problem. You don't have a kapara. But if you shechted correctly, that's where the tikkun takes place. Mimele, nothing really happened here. He ran away from him, but there's no kapara on this chicken yet. And in fact, he can come to the owner and say, you owe me money because I never did the kapara that I paid you for. When does the actual kapara that you said this should be instead of me, when does it take place? Only at the time of shchita. So until then, there's nothing. Nothing happened here.
I understand, but
Yeah.
we did for the first one, and then we took the same chicken on the second person, and shoched the chicken. Who is the shchita is now applied to? The first and the second?
No, we were worried about what people are going to feel. Oh, they're not going to want to touch chicken. So we explained, listen, as long as there's no shchita, there's nothing going on here. Nothing. The actual shchita is only going to take care of the kapara after you do the shchita, not before that. So you're worried that somebody has used it? Don't worry. He's going to use another chicken. Everybody needs another chicken. So the actual kapara, it's a chiddush. It's not when you do this and you circle it around your head. It's only at the time of shechita.
So if two people were to use the same chicken, they would need to find another chicken for the shechita. Otherwise, no one.
Right. Rabbi say Moshe Rabbeinu last few minutes of his life.
So sorry. So if the Thanksgiving takes place at the shechita, why can't one do more people with the same chicken? Because it accumulates the averot up to 10%.
Who is the shechita going to take care of? The last one, the middle one, the first one, everybody? Since the minhag is one per person, you have to do this over your head once with this chicken and shecht this chicken, and it fixes you, not everybody else. Moshe Rabbeinu's last few minutes, what do you think he is busy doing? What would you do if your name is Moshe Rabbeinu? Last few minutes after 120 years of a life full of commitment, dedication, service to Hashem, how do you end your life? I'm not talking about the fact that he wrote 13 Sifrei Torah in the last day. Last few minutes. What would you choose to do?
Having the mirror at time when he took a glass of water, said the Shakol, and Shemai said something like this.
Moshe Rabbeinu had something else he decided to do. Listen to a language, Medrash Tanchuma. Amish, unbelievable. He wrote 13 Sifrei Torah and distributed to 13 Shvatim. But that probably he finished 5 minutes before. Now we're talking about the last 5 minutes. The last 5 minutes of his life. That's not what the Medrash says. Listen to a language. Amish, unbelievable. Ba'u ve'amru, they came and they say to him, it's a whole big fight that's going on between Moshe Rabbeinu and Malach HaMavis. And then they come to him and they say, listen, Egia sha'a shata niftar min ha'olam. It's time. That's it. Amar lahem leYisrael. Moshe turns to Klal Yisrael and says to them, Tzi'arti etchem al ha'toira ve'al ha'mitzvos ve'achshav machalu li. I caused you some sorrow. I caused you some pain. Please be Michael. Moshe Rabbeinu asks forgiveness from Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael respond, Amru lo, Rabbeinu Adonenu machul lecha. We forgive you. And then they turn to Moshe Rabbeinu, Af Yisrael amdu lefanav ve'amru, Moshe Rabbeinu, harbe hichasnucha, ve'hirbenu lecha letorach. We caused you so much pain and anger. We angered you so many times. Mechol lanu. Amar lahem machul lachem. Moshe Rabbeinu decides, I forgive you as well. The last 2 minutes in his life to ask forgiveness and to forgive anyone else. That's a message for us. That of Yom Kippur, that's what we should be involved with. We should view as if it's the last few minutes of your life. What would you do? Be like Moshe. Ask forgiveness and forgive everyone else. In fact, Ben Ishchai, Shana Rishoina, Parashas Vayelech, Seif Vav, listen to a language of Ben Ishchai. Kol Adam, he's telling you instructions what to do at Yom Kippur. Kol Adam, Yenashek Yedei Aviv ve'imo be'erev Yom Kippur le'es erev. Everyone should kiss the hands of his father, his mother, erev Yom Kippur. Kodem sheyelech lebet hakneset, before he goes to shul. Ve'yivakesh mehem mechila, ask forgiveness of your parents. Ve'davar zeh hu chiyuv gadol al kol adam, and this is a great obligation imposed on any person. Umi she'eino oiseken, and one who doesn't do this, nikra choite, he is called a sinner. Umezalzel b'chvod aviv ve'imo, and he desecrates the honor of his parents. Why? De'in ben adam lachaveroev, between man and his fellow. Chazal obligated us to go and ask forgiveness kodem Yom Kippur. How much more so from your parents, that no one is saved from this grave sin of chas v'shalom, not honoring them appropriately. Ve'im haben shoite v'lo bikesh, and if this is a fool, he's a fool, he didn't ask. So the parents have a new instruction. They should forgive him, and they should actually verbalize and say, I am moichel to my son for everything he did for me, to me, mechila gemura. And so too, he says, every person should give mechila to his wife. Why? What did she do? What did she do? Says the Ben Ishchai, because she spent too much of your money. She took too much money. I say, maybe we can add, even if the chicken was a little dry yesterday, even for that, you should be moichel. And so to any Talmud that has a Rav in town should go to him before Yom Kippur and ask him forgiveness. You see it from Moshe Rabbeinu. Apparently that's the right thing to do. There's a Gemara that appears twice in Shas. In Yom Chav Gimel Amud Aleph Gitin Lamed Vav Amud Beis, the Gemara says, Hane'elavin ve'einan olvin. Shomim cherpasan ve'einan meshivin. Those who hear their shame and they don't respond. They are offended and they do not retaliate. What are they called? They are lovers of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Aleihen HaKasuv Oimer ve'oihavav ketzet hashemesh b'gvura. So you are called a lover to HaKadosh Baruch Hu if you are not strict with people. If you're willing to be moicher, you don't retaliate in the time of a fight, which is very hard to do. By the way, there's a cute Imre Yemes. Imre Yemes says, where? You're not medaik what it says here. Hane'elavin ve'einan olvin. The Rebbe, he should be those who don't respond at the time of a fight. Ve'oihavav! But the Gabayim, ketzet hashemesh b'gvura, so they should go out and fight. They should be mekane for the sake of their Rebbe. In a humorous way. But what the Gemara here is saying to us, don't be strict. Why? Because the Gemara continues and says, Kol ha'ma'avir al midoisav ma'avirin lo al kol peshav. The Mefarshim explain. One who's not strict with others, the Kodesh Baruch Hu says, Mida keneged mida, measure for measure. That's how I conduct my world. You're not strict with others, I'm not going to be strict with you. So forget about him. Do it for yourself. Don't be strict with others. The best thing is not to be offended, but if you are offended, just don't retaliate and you have a new title. Oihavav, a lover of Ribono Shel Olam. It reminds me, there was a very big campaign against Reb Steinman Zatzal in the last 15, 17, 18 years of his life. Tremendous campaign against him, wherever he went. Billboards, all kinds of things. The guy was in charge of this campaign. Got married, a few years, and didn't have kids. And one day he sat down and did some cheshbon nefesh, and he realized it's probably because I'm going against Godol Adon. I have to ask Mechila. So he came into Reb Steinman and says, Rebbe, I want to ask you Mechila. He says, Mechila? Well, what do I have with you? Why Mechila? He says, there's a big campaign against you out there, and I'm the one behind it. I'm married a few years, I don't have kids, and I think it's because of that. Please say that you're moichel me. And Reb Steinman smiles and says, no problem, no need, don't worry about it. He says, no, Rebbe, I need to hear you say you're moichel me. And Reb Steinman says, I don't think I should be moichel you. He says, why not? He says, because I think that you should get a yeshikoyach. You should get a yeshikoyach? For what? What do you mean I should get a yeshikoyach? So Reb Steinman says, look. He pulls a Shari Kedusha, the Chaim Vital. And the Talmud Dvorah, Moshe Dvorah writes the same thing. And the Chaim Vital writes, Im hayu lecha einei kefet. If you had a little brain, not too much, not a brain surgery, just a little bit. You would get up every morning, and you would ask Ribono Shel Olam HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please send me 1 or 2 embarrassments. It's the greatest form of mechilas avonos. Is it better to lose an arm, chas v'sholom? Is it better to lose a kid? Is it better to lose all your assets? So you're a little embarrassed. Let's give all the kids great. So Rabbi Steinman says to him, I think I owe you a yeshikoyach. The guy says, listen, I still want to hear the Rebbe says I'm moichel you. He says, I don't think I need to. I owe you a yeshikoyach. You did to me a great service. The guy is all happy, he smiles, he says, okay. And he starts walking out. So Rabbi Steinman calls him back and says, listen, I really hold that you did me a favor. But do me a favor. Don't do these favors to anyone else. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter said, there's a pasuk that we say in Tachanun. Some say in Tachanun, the Gom Avina erases it, but some say it. In most Sidurim it appears. Ve'yomer David el Gad. Tzar li meod. Niplana biyad Hashem. As opposed to Ki Rabim Rachamav. As opposed to Uviyad Adam Ale Pola. What does that mean? It says Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. There's 2 types of mitzvahs. There's 2 types of averos. Ben Adam lachaveiro, ben Adam lamakom. If you do have to sin, if you did sin, what is it? What is better to sin with? Ben Adam lachaveiro, ben Adam lamakom. Ben Adam lamakom, not ben Adam lachaveiro. Every ben Adam lachaveiro is 2. It's a Kodesh Baruch Hu who commanded you not to do this, and you sin against your friend. So it's 2 for the price of 1. And who says your friend will forgive you? So when the Yetzer Hara comes and tries to tempt you, says Rabbi Pessin, Niplana, if you're already falling, Niplana b'yad Hashem, and those mitzvahs min adam lamakom, ki rabim rachamav. You beg and you just say, Kodesh Baruch Hu, I'm sorry, He forgives you. Uviyad adam, between the mitzvahs, between you and your friend, Alepola, who knows if He's going to forgive me. So if Chas v'sholom it did happen, you have to make sure to say, I am sorry. So for 24 hours and change, we don't eat. Why don't we eat on Yom Kippur? Comes the Ostrovtzer Rebbe, a remarkable calculation, and it proves that you have to make sure that you don't eat because that's going to fix all the time that you do eat throughout the year. How does that work? How long does a person eat for? Some sofer says a meal is 2 minutes. Wait, you take more? You take longer? It's Beatlesman. Some sofer says 2 minutes. The Gemara in Ksubis, Samech Daled Amud Beis, says a person eats twice a day. So now let's do math. If you eat twice a day, each one is 2 minutes, that's 4 minutes a day. How many days in the year? 364. On Yom Kippur you don't eat. 364, and we dafka using 364 and not 354, because every 19 years there are 7 leap years, so the solar and the lunar year come together, and they might say we're back at 364 because the leap year brings it to 384. So it adjusts and it balances at 365 minus Yom Kippur, you don't eat. So 364 days times 4 minutes a day is how many minutes? 1,456 minutes that you eat a year. Great. How many days and how many minutes are in Yom Kippur? Yom Kippur is 24 hours. That's 1,440 minutes. We're still missing how many minutes? It's 1,456 minutes a year that you're eating. There are 1,440 minutes in 24 hours. So how many minutes are you missing? 16 minutes. The tool holds that the Tosefet Yom Kippurim that we add is 2/3 of a meal. The Rambam holds that it takes you 24 minutes to walk a meal. So what's 2/3 of 24? 2/3 of 24? 16? Perfect! We had 440 minutes of 24 hours. We have to add Tosefet Yom Kippurim, that's 16 minutes, that brings it up to 1,456. That's exactly the time we ate throughout the year. So by not eating for 1,456 minutes throughout Yom Kippur, you fix all the wrongdoings if you did throughout the year of eating, and that's why we don't eat for Yom Kippur. Tisha B'Av is not Deoraisa, it's only Divrei Kabbalah. What's that? Yeah, they're all in Divrei Mirabanon or Divrei Kabbalah, like Tisha B'Av, but nothing's from Deoraisa. On a Deoraisa level, you can eat throughout the year. Sudah Shlishi is a great point. Mishnah Berurah in Simin Shin writes, it's not a chiyuv kol kach like the three meals of Shabbos itself, and therefore the nafka mina, he says, if you have to choose between Shalish Udis and Melave Malka, go with Sudah Shlishit and not Melave Malka, because that's a complete obligation learning from a pasuk. Melave Malka is a very chashuv thing and kedai to do, but not on the same level of the 3 meals on Shabbos, which we learn from pasuk in Beshalach, Hayom, Hayom, Hayom Tochlu. Every single time it says Hayom, we learn 3 meals, not from Melave Malka. It's a mitzvah.
As he was not eating.
Yeah, and what if he did it with all the kavanos? Don't you think you need to rectify that? And if one does that without all the appropriate kavanos, he did it not for the sake of a mitzvah, he did it for the sake of his stomach, doesn't that require some kind of a rectification? So you fast for 24 hours and you fix that. On Yom Kippur you don't wear leather shoes. So that leads us to ask a riddle about shoes. When is it that we say to a person, you should wear your right shoe on your left foot? You should wear your left shoe on your right foot, even though normally we try not to do that because you can forget your Torah. It has the power to cause you to forget Torah. So we don't like to do that. But is there a time that we actually suggest to people, now you should wear your left shoe on your right foot, your right shoe on your left foot? And of course we don't wear shoes.
Walking in the snow.
The shadow from a few months ago.
Sakana be walking on snow is dangerous.
Not only now we know that he doesn't have any sins. That's why he can use somebody else's chicken for kaparos. Now we also know that his memory, Gevaldik, Baruch Hashem, he remembers what we asked here in the winter about a person in the Tashara from London. Remember?
No, but the question, maybe if the snow is Makom Sakana, he walks in the snow.
No.
So they're allowed to use shoes. Shabbos with the tail shoe. No, it's exactly whether regardless because of the...
You're allowed to wear shoes on Shabbos? I hope you do. The answer is in Yom Kippurim. In the Yom. Orachaim Simen Taf Reish Daled. Save Daled we learn. Everyone is allowed to wear shoes, sandal on Yom Kippur if there's scorpions and he's afraid. There are snakes on the way. It's going to protect him. He's allowed to. The Rama adds, if it's rainy and he wants to go from his house to the shul and he's an Easternis, he can't walk without it. He can. The Mishnah Bura writes, those people who have permission to wear leather shoes, as soon as that danger or as that reason finished, they must take them off. He gives another example. You want to go to the bathroom and you know you're going to get your feet dirty. You're allowed to wear leather shoes, but immediately take them off. And then the Mishnah Bura says, all these people who got permission to do it, however, it's Yom Kippur today, so they should wear their left shoe on their right foot and their right shoe on their left foot, and that's the answer to our question. Another riddle. Normally, the kids come to shul with candies. In some shuls, the gabbai gives candies to the little kids. When is it that the gabbai gives candies to the adults? He hands out candies to the adults. Did you ever see this in shuls? The gabbai comes and he skips over the kids. He goes to the adults and gives them candies. Who's a choyle? Give him medicine. Why do you give him candy?
But they give them bar mitzvah, they hand them.
Adults!
They hand it to the adult. The kids are running up to the...
Usually the kids go around and they give it out, not the gabbai. Listen to a chiddush. Elef lamagen simen tafresh daled again. This time Seif got on lamed chet and he says, Erev Yom Kippur, this Sunday, after Shachis, the minhag is that the gabbai goes around and gives candies to all the adults in shul. And each one who receives the candy should say, if the decree is on me that I am going to get money from the tzedakah, I should be yoytze with this candy. Nimitz Hashem, throughout the year, I'm not going to have to collect for tzedakah. Tremendous chiddush. Yoina was swallowed by the fish. What did he lose when he came out? Did he lose anything? Yoina, swallowed by the fish. He comes out the same way that he came in? Yalkut Shimoni, Medrash Tanchuma, told us, Simen Yud Beis, because of the intense heat that was there, he lost all his hair. The hair on his head and the hair of his beard. So Yonah comes in with hair on his head and beard, but he comes out without it, so he lost his hair while he spent some time there. There's a very difficult mitzvah that we all have to fulfill this coming Sunday. Very difficult. It's called eating. You mentioned it before. You have to eat on Erev Yom Kippur. And the Gemara says in Yuma Pei Aleph Amud Beis, Rosh Hashanah Daf Tes Amud Beis, if you do eat on the 9th, it is counted as if you fasted on the 9th and the 10th. What can you do? What don't you do for Kodesh Baruch Hu? We have to do this. Tough mitzvah. Shulchan Aruch Paskins is La'alacha, Shulchan Aruch Orachaim Simen Tafresh Dalet Seif Aleph. Asks Rabbi Kiva Eger, if one of the reasons that we do this is to have koyach, to be able to fast tomorrow, so what about a sick person that the doctor said you're not allowed to fast? He's not going to fast on Yom Kippur. Does he also have to eat on Erev Yom Kippur? What about a woman? A woman has to fast on Yom Kippur. We know that. But eating on the 9th is a positive commandment which is time bound. So is she exempt? And they are? Good. Good. Lemaise, both the sick person and the woman have to eat. But, it's an interesting suffix that both the Gaon Bevilna and the Sdei Chemed ask. When does this obligation start? As soon as you get up in the morning, you daven, and then you have to start eating? Or from the night? Normally, our days start from the night. Shabbos starts Friday night. Doesn't start Shabbos morning. So when do you have to start eating? They bring a machlokes by the Ashkenazim. What do you do with slichas on Erev Yom Kippur? Some say a very long slichas, and some make it very short. The reason for those who say it short because it's a yontif, because a yontif started already from the night. So if a yontif started from the night, you also have to start eating from nighttime. But they both, Estei Chemed and the Gon Mivina, bring a raya from the Gemara in Maseret Ksubis, Daf Hey. The Gemara says, one should not get married on Sunday. Why not? What's your problem with Sunday? Because you have to worry about the big Seudah. You have 600 people who are coming. There's a chashash. Maybe he's going to shecht on Shabbos. That's what the Gemara says. So the Gemara says, but wait a second. If he can't get married for that reason on Sunday, so if there's a Yom Kippur that falls on a Monday, maybe we should push it off to Tuesday. Why? Because every Erev Yom Kippur has an Erev Yom Kippur. If Yom Kippur is on Monday, that means on Sunday there's a mitzvah to eat. If when there's a mitzvah to eat Seudah, we are worried that you're going to shecht on Shabbos, so when Yom Kippur falls on Monday, we should be also worried that on Sunday when you have to eat a Seudah, you're going to go Shabbos and you're going to shecht. The Gemara says, no, there's a big difference. A wedding, you have 600 people coming, you're very nervous. You have to get up. Who knows when you're going to start preparing? Yom Kippur? You have the whole day to shecht. What's the big deal for you and your family? You see from the fact that the Gemara didn't say that the mitzvah starts Erev Yom Kippur, which means this year Motzei Shabbos, you see that the mitzvah only kicks in Sunday morning, Erev Yom Kippur, and not the Erev Yom Kippur. However, the Achronim do say that there is an inyan. It's Ra'ui, some say it's even a mitzvah, to start eating on Erev the Tet B'Tishrei. This year that it falls on Motzei Shabbos, you get two for the price of one. You get that mitzvah, or whatever it's called, a bonus, half a mitzvah, and the mitzvah of Melave Malka. When is the best time to buy an esrog? Machloikis. Either before Yom Kippur or after Yom Kippur. What? Why? That's building the sukkah. An esrog, not a sukkah. Build a sukkah that Rama brings Motzei Yom Kippur. Fine. When should one buy an esrog? 2 weeks before, Zizil Magdim LeMitzvahs, half a minute before, when all the prices drop. When should one buy an esrog? Brings the Shem Mishmuel. You should buy the esrog after Yom Kippur. Because according to the amount of tears that you shed during the davening on Yom Kippur, that's how beautiful your esrog will be. It will clean it from all the stains. And he says, but if you got an esrog from somebody a week before Yom Kippur, what are you going to do? Store it. Don't look at it. Keep it wrapped up. Daven well on Yom Kippur and cry, and all your tears will wipe off all the dirt, all the stains that this esrog may have. And according to the beautification of the tefillah will be the beautification of your esrog. Tremendous chiddush. The pasuk in Chayei Sarah says, Sarah lived for 127 years. Vayu Chayei Sarah, 100 shana ve'esrim shana ve'sheva shanim, and the pasuk repeats and says, Shnei Chayei Sarah. Rashi comments, what does it mean? Shnei Chayei Sarah? Kulan Shavin Letoiva. From the get-go, she was a tzadekis. They're all equally good. Da'az Zekeni Mibali HaToifes asks on this pasuk, wait a second. This language, Shnei Chayei Sarah, appears also by Yishmael. Shnei Chayei Yishmael, when he died at 137, the pasuk also uses this language. So you want to tell me by Yishmael also Kulan Shavin Letoiva? How can you say that? The Da'az Zekeni Mibali HaToifes says, yes, because Lemaise Chazal say in the Medrash Yishmael did tshuva. And when one does tshuva, it's like a Gershon, his guy is a new entity, and it fixes everything you did in the past. And Lemaise it comes out, Kulan Shavim Letoiva. This is even about on Ishmael. How much more so a person who's not as bad as Ishmael, which is unbelievable. The Gemara says in Yuma Pei Vav that there's Arba Chilukei Kapara. When one comes and does tshuva, Yom Kippur doesn't really fix everything. If he nullified the positive commandment and he bangs really well, so he's immediately atoned for it, no problem. But if it's a negative commandment, it depends. Lav sheyen bo maise, lav sheyesh bo maise. What type of a maise? Chilul Hashem. Some averos require not only Yom Kippur, also Yisurim. Some averos is not enough. Even Yom HaMisa, death. Only then the atonement is completed. Comes the chido. The Bnei Yisroel brings the chido And he says, I don't know where he got it from. The language of Shas does not indicate what the Chidah says. But the Chidah says, this is all talking about tshuva miyira, the lower level of tshuva, when you do it out of fear. You're right, it doesn't fix everything. But when one does tshuva me'ahava, it fixes everything, even the worst averos that normally we would say you need Yisurim, you need Yom HaMisa. No. Tshuva me'ahava erases it all. Then the Bnei Yisrael says, even though I don't know where he got it from, he brings it from the Kadmonim, but it's not what the Shas says. However, since he was a Rav Muvhak, and he paskin like this here in Beis Din Shel Mata, that's how they paskin in Beis Din Shel Mala. That's what the Chidah says. That's the Bnei Yisrael, I'm sorry. Gedoyla Tshuva, that even zdoinus of a person turned into zchuyos. Does that mean you completed the Kapara process? They took the Aveira and they turned it into a mitzvah for Tshuva Me'ava. But when one does something wrong, he still needs to fix it. It's to clean. There's a little stain that's left over. The Aveira left. It's here. But there's a little stain. You have to fix that. How do you clean that stain? Normally we would think Yom Kippur, and for some Aveiros, Yisurim and Misa. Says the Chidah, Tshuva Me'ava doesn't need it. The Minchas Chinuch says the same thing. So you have a Minchas Chinuch, you have the Chidah, the Bnei Yisrael brings it, that's a very strong coalition. Very strong coalition, and like the way they paskin down here in Beis Din Shel Mata, that's how they paskin in Beis Din Shel Mala. A bunch of years ago, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, there was a big fight between two groups of Arabs near Haifa. Young guys. At one point, one of the groups had a hand grenade and they threw it at the other group. This grenade exploded right next to a 17-year-old Arab kid. His name was Yusuf. We would call him Yosef. Le'avdil, Yossi, Yusuf. He was rushed to the Rambam hospital in Haifa. Terrible shape. And the doctors all look at him and they say, we have to amputate his arms, his legs, and take out his eyes. He got so many shrapnel that it just wasn't shaykh. He's going to be infected and he will surely die otherwise. But there was one doctor there, Dr. Paz, I think Shlomo Paz. And he said, doctors, I don't think we should amputate his legs and arms, take out his eyes. 17-year-old. To bring him back in a little box like this, back to home, where's the Rachamim? And they say, what do you suggest? So he says, I think we should work on him. Slowly but surely, taking each little piece out, I think it can be done. And they weren't sure. And Dr. Paz says, I'll take it on myself. I'll do it. And they agreed, and he did for the next 3 months. He invested so much time, day in, day out, days and nights, and slowly, with tremendous, tremendous patience, he took out a little piece after little piece, and ointments, and he gives him such unbelievable treatment. And after 3 months, a miracle happened. Yusuf is walking on his own 2 legs, using his arms and seeing with his eyes. And the following day, he comes over to Dr. Paz with a big gift that he's holding in his hands. He says, here, doctor, this is for you. And Dr. Paz says, I don't need any gifts. You are my biggest gift. Look at you. You're using your own legs, your arms. You're seeing with your eyes. I don't need any gift from you. You are a walking gift. No, doctor, what you did for me, you have to take this. You have to take this. No, I don't need it. Please take it. Ad kana kofe aleph. 6 months later, the Intifada broke out. There's major fights in Gaza. Dr. Paz was drafted, he's in reserve. And at one point, 2 Jews were hurt in Gaza. And Dr. Paz was rushed there, the doctor, and he's treating them. He's on the ground treating these 2 guys. And suddenly he sees this guy coming over with a gigantic rock in his hand. He looks at him, he said, Yusuf, it's me, Dr. Paz. From Rambam, from hospital, from Haifa, I took care of you for 6 months. Yusuf looks at him. Oh, yeah. Doctor, yeah. How are you doing? No, I apologize. Things are different now, with the Intifada and everything, And as he says, things are different now. He took this rock and he smashed it on the head of Dr. Paz. Dr. Paz was rushed to the Rambam hospital. He was out for a few weeks. And then he had to go through hell, months and months of rehab. His face was completely destroyed, distorted. And he had surgery after surgery. and so many different treatments. And at one point, when he was in the rehab, his family came to visit. And he told them, you should know the pain that I endure during these treatments, the surgeries. It pales in comparison to the pain that I have every time I think about this Yusuf. Those legs that I gave him, that he used against me. The arms that I enabled him to use. The eyes that I allowed him to see with again. He took that and he used it against me. And this thought is too hard to bear. I'd rather die every single time I think about it. We think about this Yusuf, wicked, traitor, cruel. There's no one here, chas v'sholom, that would ever do such a thing. He says, Reb Moshe Kodovero, with the same legs that Kodesh Baruch Hu gave you, with the same arms, with the same eyes, you sin against him? So what's the big difference between us and Yusuf? And the opposite. When we use what HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us to serve Him, how much nachas is there in front of Ribono Shel Olam? Take those eyes, those legs, those arms, the shoulders, their digestive system, whatever He gave you, and you use it to serve Ribono Shel Olam out of true recognition, Akara Satoiv. How much nachas is there before Borei Olam? Elisha ben Aviyah, the Gemara says to us in Bavli, Chagiga Taftes Vav Amud Aleph, goes and he hears a bas call from Shamayim saying, Shuvu banim shoyvevim chutz me'ach, not you. Everybody can do tshuva. You out. So what Lamai says the Taina against him? He heard HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying, I don't want your tshuva. HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself speaking. Rabbi Yosef said, you know what the Taina against him is? Where was he when he heard this? Was he in Beis HaMedrash? No. If he stayed in Beis HaMedrash, he would hear different voices. He would hear the voice of Rabbeinu Yoina and Shari Tshuva. He would hear the Rambam's voice in Hilchos Tshuva saying, anyone can always do Tshuva and it will be accepted. The problem is, you start walking out of Beis HaMedrash, you're going to hear all kinds of crazy voices and sounds saying all kinds of crazy things. The Taina on him is, don't spend time out of Beis HaMedrash, because in those voices and all kinds of sounds you're going to hear may convince you to do crazy things. Stay in Beis HaMedrash. You're going to hear this beautiful, sweet voice of the Rambam and Rabbeinu Yonah saying you can always do tshuva and the tshuva will be accepted. Rabbi Isai, I want to wish each and every one of you a Gmar Chasima Toiva, a year full of heavenly blessings, abundance, and Ruchnius and Gashmius. I also want to ask, Mechila, if I said anything that I wasn't supposed to say, or if I didn't say something that I was supposed to say, it wasn't intentional, please be moichel me. In Mitzvah Hashem, we should all enjoy many, many more years to come with superior health, learning Torah with Mashiach Tzidkenu Bekarov B'Yameinu. Amen v'Amen.